Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Appreciate everybody for listening or watching. Ernest Graham is going to join us today. So is Trish Garzone, who's the first female board member of the Gainesville Quarterback Club, of which I give speeches to every Tuesday night during football season. And they're coming up on a big day with Coach Napier, and she's got something to offer people, and it's a great deal. And believe me, with the speakers they've got coming up this year, Dan Mullen, Jimbo Fisher, I think Patrick Young's going to speak. I've given them a couple other names of people and phone numbers. So I'm trying to help them get great speakers because I believe in that club. So we'll have her on. Of course, they advertise as well here on the podcast during football season. So we appreciate them for that as well. Let's go to, Coach Spurrier, of course, on Monday. Let's go to our Process Service of Gainesville starting five, brought to you by the Process Service of Gainesville. Scott Hart, doing a great job over there. We appreciate him. Let's start off with number one. And because it's been kind of a weird week this week, I thought because I always try to go with what I think is the most important story in the Gator Nation right now. And to me, the most important story was what Graham Mertz said on Paul Feinbaum yesterday. And it's a great quote when he says, we're not trying to beat the haters. We're trying to prove that we are right. In other words, what he's saying basically is we're not out to get revenge. We're not out to show people they're wrong. We're trying to show you that we know what we're doing and we have worked really hard at this and we believe in this system and it's going to work. And I think that's probably what I took that as more than anything was to be what Coach Napier is telling them and saying, look, don't be thinking about rivalries and all these games and all the schedule and all that. Just go out and try to be good. Be what you know you can be. Be what we think you can be. We brought you here for a reason. We think we have the best team we've had. Just go out and prove yourselves that you're right. And I think that's the best way to approach it. I would not approach this football season with I wouldn't even put the record up. I wouldn't even have it. I would have Miami. How many days it is to Miami. That's the only thing I would care about. And then how many days to UCF. That would be the way I would approach it, because we can sit out here and complain and yell and scream, I can't believe this schedule is so hard. They can't. And every time I talk to somebody and they ask me about what you think about Gator football, and I always say the same thing. I go, I think they're a pretty good team, and then somebody will say, yeah, but that schedule. I go, well, everybody's got a hard schedule, It's not going to be easy for anybody. Could have been easier for Florida, but it's not, and they have to do what they have to do. So we'll see what happens. But I thought that was the most significant thing out of this weekend. Let's get to number two on our Process Service of Gainesville starting five. And that, of course, would be the Final Four, which is now set, of course, and has been set since Sunday. A lot of fun watching the games. Obviously, you know how I feel about Tennessee losing was good. I liked that very much. I did enjoy the women's game very much. But we have both of our Final Four set. Amazing to me that NC State and Connecticut are in both Final Fours. That's just stunning to be able to do that. Where I'm having a problem, though, is with this whole UConn-Alabama thing. Because, look, I'm not going to root for Alabama. That's just not going to happen. Alabama's had plenty of glory in their lives, those fans. Now, all of it's been football and a little bit of baseball and occasionally and a little bit of gymnastics and some other sports. Softball won a national title. But basketball, they haven't really had it, and this was their first Final Four ever, which is pretty amazing when you think about it, all those great teams at Alabama. But the point is, I can't root for Alabama. But I've been rooting against UConn, as everybody in the Gator Nation, I think, has, because you don't want anybody else to get this record. It's not even a record, really. It's just the last time somebody won back-to-back was Florida in 06 and 07. And you want it to stay Florida in 06 and 07. And if Connecticut does it, it'll be a big deal, and they'll talk about the Gators, and then that Gator team will kind of drift off into mediocrity. I don't want to say mediocrity, but drift off into the space because nobody's going to be sitting there going, well, this has happened before. Somebody's winning it back to back. Can UConn win a third straight? Will be the story. Anyway, we love that team. Everybody, I think, loves that team, loves the players that were on it, and we'd like to see that hold on there. So that makes it very difficult. I think I'm going to have to root for UConn, though. I'm not going to root for Alabama. It's just not in my nature. I'm not a big Nate Oates guy. I still cannot believe that a team that Florida beat twice and beat handily twice is in the Final Four, but they are. And it tells you how good Florida was at times, what Florida's got to do. And again, they've got a lot of guys out there that they're after, and we keep seeing names circulate that are unfamiliar names to most of us. This guy at Arizona State, whose name has already escaped me again, Freddie. Anyway, is somebody who's on Florida's list. There's a guy at Drexel that's on Florida. They're going to go after these guys that are mid-major guys who are really good and have elevated themselves to be high-level guys. And you have to get them. You have to get the right ones. You have to bring the right ones in. And so we'll see what happens there. That is my basketball for the day. Let's get to number 3 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5, which is baseball. And of course, if you watch baseball this week, it was certainly interesting. This weekend, the Gators do take 2 out of 3 again, win another series. Their plan is working really well. They throw everybody at you the first game, get hammered in the second game, bring Cags back for the third game. That's what their plan is, and it's working right now. And of course, they still are looking for pitching. And of course, on Tuesday night, I flipped the game on, and they're down 5-3, and it's the third inning. And I'm like, how in the world does Ryan Slater give up 5 runs in 2 innings? He just doesn't have it this year, I guess. I don't know what happened to him, but everybody seems to be able to hit him. They still can't find a midweek starter. They put Kate Fisher in the bullpen, works great. That's where he excels, and he has. They brought McNeely, who was their midweek starter, and made him their closer, and he's been great. Hasn't given up a run as a closer. It's really a mystery. There's a lot of mysteries with this team trying to figure it out. What do you do at third base? What do you do at catcher? Where you've got a great defensive catcher, but he's not that great a hitter. Maybe he's getting a little better. You'd like to play him more. And what do you do in left field? What do you do in center field? Because nobody's really taken that job over. So that's kind of weird that we're halfway through the season. This is a mid-season point right now, and we still don't know about this team exactly what it's going to be going down the stretch. Who's going to be pitching on Friday when they get into a regional? I have no idea at this point right now, but we'll see what it is. But, hey, the bottom line is they're playing Missouri this week. Missouri's not very good, but Missouri's played everybody close, but they found ways to lose games. Their ERA is, I think, next. Well, their ERA is not bad, but their hitting is last in the league, 238 in college baseball. And the interesting thing, Florida's next to last in hitting. You think of Florida, you think of these Bombers, right? Oh, these guys can slug, they can hit, but they can't hit for average, and they're next to last in the conference in batting and last in pitching. Kevin O'Sullivan is still the coach, right? Okay, I just want to make sure, because a Kevin O'Sullivan team being last in pitching seems incredible to me, but they're first in fielding. That does matter too. All 3 things matter, and we'll see how they're able to go. Jeff and I were talking on the radio yesterday, and he wants a sweep, and I said, look, you've got to go 2-1 minimum. Yes, I would like a sweep, but you certainly cannot go 1-2. That team is 1-8 in the conference, and regardless of how they've lost a game, they've lost them. So go up there and get business. It's going to be cold, not freezing cold, but it's going to be chilly. The bat's going to sting a little bit when you foul it off the handle, but they'll be all right. All right, let's get to number 4 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5, and that is one of the most under-publicized major events here is coming up today and tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday. Well, Sunday. and that is Florida hosting a gymnastics regional. And I'm like, okay. There's a lot of teams in it, a lot of ranked teams in it. I'm amazed at how hard that Florida's regional is. But you can go out there Thursday. Today is a play-in day, I think, the way it works. And then Friday is when you have all the teams out there. And then I think it's 2 sessions. And then the teams that do the best go to Sunday. And Sunday's where they decide who the regional champion is. So certainly I imagine the place will be packed for all these games. I mean, I know we have softball in town as well, but I would imagine it'll be packed for gymnastics as it always is. That's why they're expanding the seating areas for gymnastics. And that was pretty cool when I saw that they were doing that. But good luck to Jenny Rowland and all the gymnasts. And I know the fans will be fired up to go out there. All right, and number 5 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. The Masters is next week. You may have heard. One thing I will say that about this, they start plugging the Masters early in basketball season, but it's just a quick commercial. You get fired up for it, and then it goes away. They don't analyze it for 6 months the way they do the NFL draft or some of these other things. But I did see the story today that Rory McIlroy had some concerns that golf viewership is down 20%. And of course, it was pointed out in the article, nobody's really watching the Live Tour either. And I'm trying to think of why. And there's one obvious reason why, and that is there's no Tiger. Tiger's been hurt, obviously, not been a factor. When he's played, he's had to quit many times. He'll be at Augusta, and we'll all be tuning in to see how he does. But I think that's part of it. And part of it is, I think the Live has hurt the PGA Tour, but it hadn't helped itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's watching the Live because of the guys who've gone over there, but maybe not as many people are watching the PGA Tour because of the guys that have gone over there. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's just a Tiger factor. Maybe it's that a lot of rookies and unknowns have been winning. I think that could be a factor as well. I think people are confused by what is going on in golf these days. Really, I just don't think anybody really understands anything that's going on in golf, designated events and all that. And but we'll be watching the Masters. We know that, and it'll be beautiful and fun. And I was actually just jotting down during a break because I do this high five column for WRUF.com on Fridays. And I was jotting down my 5 things I love the most about being at the Masters. Went to 9 of them, played it once. Very lucky man. And now you have to wait till Friday, though, to find out what the 5 things I love the most about it. You can probably guess a lot of them. The azaleas. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to talk about the cathedral and the pine. I'm not going to wax eloquently about any of that. All right, and before we go to our interview with Ernest Graham, we did want to bring on a special guest, and that's Trish Garzone, who, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the first woman who's on the board of the Gainesville Quarterback Club, and they've got a special deal for you and a chance to go see what Billy Napier has to say. What's up, Trish? How you doing?
I'm doing well, Pat. Thank you. Looking forward to some spring football.
Yeah, and talk about this deal that you have, where you can go to 2 meetings, and we know how good they are. I'm at every one, so they're great. And just talk about that and what you can do to buy one of those.
Absolutely. So right now we have a trial meeting special going on. You can go to our next 2 meetings for only $150. It'll be Billy Napier on April 9th, and then our next meeting will be June 4th, Chris Doring and Peter Burns from SEC Now. So great speaker presentations, and every meeting starts at 5:30 with happy hour. Buffet dinner usually starts around 6:15, 6:30, and then the program starts at about 7. So $75 a meeting, you can't beat that. You're getting your full meal, and you're enjoying other Gator fans and, of course, those amazing speakers.
Yeah, and there've been some obviously great ones. I know Dan Mullen's coming back and Jimbo Fisher, which
Yeah.
I don't know. Luckily, nobody has to transcribe when Jimbo's here, right? So I mean,
There you go.
we used to joke about the ASAP people that were do the transcriptions for the media, and how after every time the one time they had Jimbo and Ed Ogeron back to back, and we saw them in the bar doing shots afterwards. They were worn out from that, trying to
Oh, I'm
interpret
sure.
those two.
I'm sure. Yes, definitely. So yeah,
But
I think if anybody's interested in checking out the club, again, we've been around since 1950. It's really just blossoming, and it's part of the new kind of Gator fan nation, I think. And we're looking forward to welcoming new members. If you do come to the trials, that fee can go towards you joining if you decide to do so. So right now we only meet bi-monthly, and then in season we'll start with weekly meetings. So it'll be every Tuesday again at the Best Western Gateway Grand. Same time frame, 5:30 happy hour. We have a great time with that. You can mix and mingle with former players, fellow Gator fans, fellow members. Anytime we have speakers come in and they get there a little early, they're happy to mingle as well beforehand. So we encourage you to come out early, have your nice meal, and enjoy the speakers, and really just kind of give back to Gator football, because we do endow scholarships for Florida football. We also endow a scholarship for a local high school football player of the year, and we honor several individuals, and one gets a scholarship.
absolutely, and it's great. I think that's great that you guys have gotten really involved in the high schools, and and I think also having the trophy for the winner of the Florida FSU game. All these things are really cool things that the quarterback club has done. It's a big part of my life. I'll tell you that. They've asked me to come speak and do a scouting report every week. And even when there were some I wasn't doing, I still came to the meetings because I want to hear the speakers because they were so good. Whether it was Peter Burns or Steve one time, and Steve will go and wander in there every once in a while. All right.
Yeah, and I tell you, you're one of the reasons people get in their seats early, because they want to hear that scouting report. They look forward to that. They love that they can ask you questions. And it speaks to the room and the intimacy of it. And yes, we're almost 200 people in that room, but they get to interact with you. They get to interact with the speakers, and everybody's so welcoming and willing to answer questions and give us really valuable insight that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Absolutely. And this Tuesday
Yes.
coming up is a meeting with Coach Napier. And again, you can't just walk up there and walk in and buy a ticket. You've got to buy a trial membership, and that'll allow you to come in there, and then you'll be able to go to the other one with Doring and Peter Burns, who have a great time when they're together. I know that.
That's right. Yeah, they're always fun to have up there together. Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah.
I like to harass them too. I may heckle them from the cheap seats. So
I'm sure. But yeah, you can show up on Tuesday night, but you have to be prepared to buy that joint that 2 trial membership for $150. You can't just buy the one night, to your point, but you can come that night, get there at 5:30. I will be at the welcome table, so you can look for me, or you can go to quarterbackclub.org, and all the information is up there on the Join Now button. We'll have the trial membership up there as well.
Yeah, it's a great thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait till Tuesday night. Trish, we'll see you. Thanks a lot for joining us here.
Appreciate you having me. Go Gators.
Okay, we'll be back with another Dooley Noted podcast, and Ernest Graham will join us. It's presented, of course, by Titan MRI, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 280 discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Okay, and welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law, Dooley Dome Gator Studios. And one guy we've been trying to get on here for a while, and one day it was just we had a mix-up, and one day I had a mix-up, but we're getting him on today, and it is such a pleasure. It's almost I almost feel like I'm doing an introduction like Conan O'Brien, where the Conan needs a friend thing. It's a pleasure to welcome in. I need a friend. Maybe that friend will be Ernest Graham. We'll find out right now. Let's bring on Ernest.
It was definitely something that he felt like would be an awesome, undertaking, to both continue the legacy, the Graham legacy here at the University of Florida and help the program, get back, to what it's been.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us want to see that happen. I mean, to be 9-2 was a bad season,
Yeah, no question.
Now it's obviously, and you had a quote on Twitter where you talked about the disconnect when the coach left.
Yeah.
Did you kind of get that all straightened out with Coach Napier?
Yeah, we did, man. Coach Napier is an awesome guy. Obviously, I'm wearing my dad hat. I wear that before I wear before the University of Florida or anything else I do. I'm a dad. So I was definitely, disappointed, at that time. I understand the business, right? Obviously, Coach Bateman was, doing what he had to do to, take care of his family. But, my simple thing was like, hey, man, I thought, communication, could have been better. We talked it out. I talked to everybody, all parties involved, and, things are definitely 100%, squared away. I'm not a guy that likes to take, if you're ever on my Twitter, it's not much going on. I'm not like a guy that likes to take things to Twitter, but I'm a dad, man. And
I know, yeah.
I'm a dad, man, and we jump out there and we fight for ours, and that's just doing that in the way that I could do it. But man, I have no doubt that Coach Napier really is the guy for the job. I think he's been thoughtful, throughout this whole deal, especially for former guys and and former players. And that was, just looking at that sole tweet, it's definitely not a representation of my full thoughts, really about what Coach Napier has done, for the university. So definitely, it got away from me in the moment. I'm not a person.
You're being a dad, man.
Yeah, being a dad, man. This process is, it's a tough process, and so it wasn't easy, but we're good. We're good to go.
Have you ever thought about how much money you might have made on NIL when you were a player? If they had
I think all former players. I think all former players definitely think about, man, what it would have been like to live, during this era. I think about it because, I was like we talked about, I was a 3-sport athlete. I was as good a baseball player as I was a football player and basketball player. So I had a lot of leverage. Let's put it that way. So it's definitely nice to, to kind of think about what you would have commanded. But, I don't have a bunch of issues with where the game is, where things are today. I definitely think it needs some, obviously some oversight, some regulation, but, you'd like to see, the young guys, being taken care of.
Yeah. I mean, it does drive me a little crazy, but my thing is they could have solved this problem a long time ago and they didn't. And it's kind of runaway train now, and I don't know where it's going to end.
I don't either. I mean, where it's at now, I don't know how it, it ends well, right? It's definitely chaotic. We're losing.
That's something you have to deal with Miles too, and it's good that you're right here, so you can kind of make sure that nothing gets out of control there in terms of.
Yeah, definitely. That's obviously been the style of parents we had. to be able to lead him through it. His situation is a little different, I think, than most kids in the country in the sense that, he knows where his heart is. He wants to be here. He has a long-term vision, really of himself. And it's really a bonus that, NIL is in place and he gets to go live out his dream at the University of Florida. But, you also, with your kids, you have to navigate the other parts. Kids are, coming and going out of a locker room. Your son has to process that, right? Like, man, where are things going? This guy left, that guy left. And, you just have to teach them to just, to really just stay in the trenches, stay down, continue to focus on that development. And, where things are chaotic, it'll find its way, at some point, but, to continue just holding on to what his vision is, for himself and for the program. And that doesn't change, despite all the things going on in the game right now.
So when he runs out of that tunnel for the first time against Miami, is there going to be a little tear in your eye coming down?
Oh, yeah, definitely, because it's his first game. He'd be playing against Miami. It's going to be a lot there. And my mom is, no longer here, and so I can still remember, just memories of, when I first, started playing, and her being in a Gator jersey and all that stuff, and for me to, to be a dad and to sit here, I get to live, through that a little bit.
All right. Of course, Ernest coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. It's time for us to play the game we play with all our guests. Yes, no way, or maybe. Brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. Go in there and say, hey, I saw Ernest Graham on the Dooley podcast. You get free French fries with your order. How about that, Ernest?
Good stuff.
All right. Number one, you are proud of your former running mate, Robert Gillespie, and how he's aspired to be a really good college coach.
Absolutely, yes. I think he's going to be a fantastic head coach at some point. I always say, it's my brother from another mother, and I'm just so proud of him, man. I really am. For me, he's the best recruiter in the nation. It was really, really. I mean, he did a great job. Obviously, separating things. He didn't feel entitled because we were best friends and all the different stuff, and he did a phenomenal job. Obviously recruiting my son. I mean, other than the fact that he was always, dead set on being a Gator, man. He's one of the best in the business for sure.
The only guy I've ever seen get a 15-yard personal foul penalty for leading the band.
Oh, that's right. Was
that in Starkville or Oxford? It was in Mississippi.
I forget which one that was. Yeah. That's a cool
He led the
moment.
band after he scored a touchdown. They gave him 50 yards.
Yeah.
Now you can do just about anything,
You can now. Yeah.
All right. Number two on yes, no way, or maybe. 2007 was the best year of football for you. That was the year you rushed for 838 yards and caught 324 and started a bunch of games, scored 10 touchdowns rushing it for the Bucs.
Maybe. 2008 was a great year, a fun year for me, even though I didn't finish that season, due to injury. Obviously 2007 was the year that I kind of was like a little bit of a coming out party. I don't think people realized I was even mostly a fullback, in the NFL, and my value was I could go play, really both positions. But I mean, out of my 9 seasons, I was pretty much fullback for 7 years, seven of those, and I had a chance to step up at tailback. But 2008 was really fun for me as well. I came out the gates, after that season. I think I was leading the league in explosives for like the first quarter of the season. And then, the whole time everybody's like, oh, he's slow. And, and I broke off, a good number of runs early in the year. I ended up getting moved to tailback. The fullback, I got a chance to block for Ward Dunn, for a number of games before I went out. And that was fun for me. So 2007 and 2008 were definitely, phenomenal years, I feel like.
2001 wasn't bad either. You're pretty good then. Yeah.
No question.
All right. Finally, on yes, no way, or maybe, you have gotten to the point where you can no longer beat your son in basketball.
Ooh, I listen. No, I will. I'm telling you, I think I would definitely give him the business in basketball. We haven't played a real one-on-one game in quite some time, but I feel pretty good about my chances.
I'd love to watch you play basketball again because you had that high arcing jump shot.
Yeah. Used to hit the roof. Everybody used to always say that.
Yeah, it was like almost like you were shooting in a gym where it was like if you didn't put it up way high, but you had an incredible shot and made a line of that.
I appreciate it.
Ernest, it's always great to talk to you. Great to catch up. And I know a lot of people wanted to hear from you and talk to you about Miles and how they're excited about him in this town. You know that.
Exciting times for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, with him and Lagway and LJ, and I mean, they might be pretty good. We'll see how
Oh,
it goes.
I think I love what I'm seeing right now. So you know how it is. You can see the pieces. They have to come together, and they typically come together per the personality of the collective unit. But it'll happen if they all stick with it and don't let anything break them up for sure.
All right, we'll be back with more on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Thanks so much to Ernest Graham. We appreciate you, buddy.
All right, thank you, brother. Yep.
Be back with more after this break.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, and welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Appreciate all those people. And again, they're all major sponsors of our podcasts, and as are most of the people on this list, not only of our podcast, but of the Bob Dooley Invitational. And I know you're going to get sick of hearing about it, but you have to hear about it every once in a while. Did get a wonderful basket from the Orange Bowl today and the Gator Bowl. My brother picked up the Gator Bowl one, but we got it in the mail, the Orange Bowl one. It's really cool. It's got a couple of sweatshirts in it and like one of those big, Zach, what do you call those when it's not a Yeti cup, but it's a tall cup? What do they call it?
The popular Stanley Cups?
Yeah, I guess that's what they call it. Yeah. Stanley Cup.
So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we got one of those. So, and some other stuff in there, and that'll be cool. Somebody will win that. All right, let's get to the Hesser and Kipke 3 things, which we always do every Monday and every Friday. And of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of family law and workers' compensation. If you're a loyal listener of the show, you know who we are by now. If not, Google the firm, check out the reviews, and hear what our clients have to say. Ken and Jennifer can be reached 24/7 via call or text at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke. They're going to have a tent out there on the course, and it's going to be a family-friendly tent, and they're going to have all kinds of desserts out there for people. That's going to be cool. This term is going to be something, I'm telling you. But sorry, we're full. Don't ask. Let's get to the Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Number 1, the trade of Stephon Diggs to the Texans. Certainly, I think a lot of people like me just went, whoa, the Texans are serious, aren't they? I didn't even realize we had Johnny Townsend on the radio the other day because he's doing his his big tailgate again this year, third year of that. And it certainly raises money for pediatric cancer research, and I appreciate him. But anyway, I didn't even realize they had already traded for Tommy Townsend. So Tommy Townsend was a free agent, so he goes to the Texans. And now Stephon Diggs, who of course is elite receiver, but had rubbed people the wrong way in Buffalo, and they kind of grew tired of him, which happens with these diva wide receivers. But it does happen, and it happens with almost all of them. I mean, there's very few of them that you don't have a problem with them at some point. Anyway, Stephon Diggs to the Texans makes me fired up for the Texans. What they did last year, getting to the playoffs, CJ Stroud is a real deal. It seems like they're making all these improvements on their team. They were good enough to get in the playoffs, and DeMeco Ryan seems to know what he's doing. So, and on the other hand, the Bills, a lot of people go, "What are you doing?" And hey, look, they needed to clear, they needed to restructure this team, and you get rid of him, and you can kind of start restructuring. And I get that. And they got a draft pick for him. I've read a lot of things where people say that, basically both teams won on this trade, and I'm trying to see how the Bills won, but okay, I'll buy the NFL guys. That's one thing I always talk about. I hate it when pro guys talk about college, okay, and they start talking about how much all this expertise about the college game and this, that, and the other. And God was talking the other day about Bobby Hurley all day, and it was supposed to be Danny Hurley, and they just stay away from it. Leave the college game to us, okay, guys. But when it's the NFL, I want to hear what the NFL experts have to say, because they know about the NFL. I watch it, I enjoy it, I read about it occasionally, but I don't cover it or spend a lot of time with it. I love to know what they think. So if they think both teams won, then both teams won. But I am excited about the Houston Texans. I've never said that in my life, I don't think, before. All right, let's go to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is that Florida announced that Kentucky is a homecoming game. And of course, Kentucky fans are irate. No, they're not. They're not that stupid to think that you can't. You have to have an SEC game now, the way the schedules all line up for your homecoming game. For the most part, I mean, you don't have to have and you want it. It used to be you wanted a game you knew you were going to win, so you'd bring in a crap team, and everybody'd have a great time, and they'd go to Gator Corral, and Gator Corral was a big deal back then. The parade was a bigger deal. But now it's like you want a game that people are going to want to come to, because you want them on campus, and you want to try to raise funds. You want to try to raise money with them. So having Kentucky for homecoming, could have been LSU. Well, it couldn't have been LSU because they got to go to LSU. Could have been somebody else. They got 7 home games, but this is the one they picked. It's no slight on Kentucky any more than it was a slight on LSU a few years ago when the Mike Griffiths of the world were trying to make a big deal of it, but it's not a big deal. Trust me. But that's who it is. It's Kentucky. I don't think the players even realize it's homecoming anymore. Let's get to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is this is a weird story, because when I first started reading, I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no way. But the mayor, I think it's the mayor of Dallas, wants the Chiefs to move to Dallas. Well, who wouldn't want the Chiefs to move to Dallas? The Chiefs were in Dallas at one time, and they've won a few Super Bowls, in fact, 2 in a row. Well, what happened up in Missouri is they rejected a sales tax that was going to help the stadium out. It's not going to happen now. So they're saying in Dallas, come on down. We've got the Cotton Bowl for you. You can have the Cotton Bowl. We'll only play one other game there a year, and we'll get that, and we'll make it even better. Now, nobody's asked Jerry Jones what he thinks. He may not be thrilled about sharing the city with, but look, it's not going to happen. You know that. We both know that, but interesting that it's even being discussed. So those are our Hesser and Kipke 3 things for today. Let's go to our Adams Ribco to go Gator of the Week. And I decided to make it Brody Done. And Brody Done has had a rough time at Florida since he transferred in here. We thought he was going to be a big time for Virginia Tech. Thought he was going to be a big time player, battle for the catcher's position, but he struggled to hit the curveball. He's got trouble with the curve. But in the game Saturday night, Tuesday night, Florida was in trouble. I mean, they get down 5-3 and they were down 6-3. And Donet hit a 3-run homer and then hit another homer, 2 homers in the game, showed the power he has. He just got to be able to see the ball, be the ball. But he's got this going for him now. Now he's got momentum now that he's been the Adams Ribco to go Gator of the Week. It's a big honor. I did have options, but I went with Brody Donet, so congratulations to him. Let's get to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Actually playing golf with Kyle Cohen Saturday in the Willie Jackson Leonard George scramble. Just lost a player too. I got to find one. But anyway, Leonardo's quick picks. I think we're just going to make it the Final Four. We pick the 2 games. Yeah, just give me the winners. Give me who is going to be in the Final Four. In the Final 2, I'm sorry, I should say. You know who's in the Final Four. So you can go Alabama, UConn. You can go, no, you can't do that. You can go UConn, NC State. You can go Alabama, Purdue, or any of those variations. You figure it out. You just have to get it right. So that'll be on, of course, on Saturday. We'll get to that in a minute, but that is your pick. So just send it in, patrickdooley54@gmail.com. Whoever you think is going to be in the Final Four or final game. The 2 teams are going to be in the last game. I would go Purdue, UConn, and I think a lot of people will, but you never know. Take a chance. Take a chance on me. All right, that is our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Let's get to this, that, and the other. Presented by our good friends at Ironwood Golf Course, home of the Bob Dooley Invitational, the 29th one. Also by Darshackow Insurance, sponsors of many things around this area, and they really do a good job with the community. Appreciate them. And by Ballyhoo Grill, where I was just yesterday, actually. I was met a friend there for lunch. I think my friend Bill Reichert is going to the Monday Masters, and he had to get healthy for it. He's been dealing with a little bit of coughing and everything. It's going around. There's a lot of people dealing with it right now. I think it's a change in weather, but we've had a weird change of weather. But anyway, they are the sponsors, Ironwood, Darshackow Insurance, and of course, Ballyhoo of this, that, and the other. This part of this is that women's basketball, it kind of goes up and down. It's just this flowing thing that a lot of people don't take very seriously, and a lot of people don't get excited about. And I got to be honest, I'm one of them. As a rule, you just have to deal with it. I'm sorry, but when the women at Florida are playing good, I've gone to games. I watch them on TV all the time, and I think that's the bottom line. That, of course, is that we had this incredible opportunity to watch Caitlin Clark against Angel Reese, and 2 teams that hate each other, and there was a lot of history there. And that was, of course, on Monday night. And we were just hoping for a good game. We were hoping it would be interesting. My biggest fear was I was going to sit down with my daughter, and I was going to sit there, and we were going to watch LSU just smoke them because they had too much depth and too much size. Well, they didn't, and as a result, we get to the other, and this, that, and the other. And the other is it was the second largest watched game in the history of ESPN. Men, women, NBA, college, everything. Second most watched basketball game in the history of ESPN. I don't know what number 1 was. No, and now I will say this: it did get like 12.3 million. That's a huge number. I'm not sure what like a great championship game gets on CBS. But anyway, doesn't matter. All right, let's get to our Swamp games of the weekend coming up here. Swamp Restaurant, of course, that's where you want to go watch them. A lot of fun there. Sponsors of the Bob Dooley as well. Gymnastics, as I mentioned earlier, it's been kind of underpublicized, but they're going to go Friday. It starts at 7. Sunday will be at 5. And they're both on the Plus if you want to watch them there, but a lot of people are going to be there and show up. Women's Final Four is obviously is Friday at 7 o'clock and 9:30 are the two games. The Iowa game is the second game, Iowa UConn, right? Is it Iowa UConn and South Carolina NC State's the first one, and then they play again on Sunday. If you want to watch tonight, Seton Hall and Indiana State play in the NIT, more power to you. They play tonight at 7 o'clock on ESPN. And then, of course, the men's Final Four, Purdue, NC State, 6:09 on TBS on Saturday. I think a lot of people go looking for it on Channel 4, but it won't be there. And then Alabama, UConn is at 8:49 on TBS as well. And again, those are estimated times, but we're looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm having the Alabama UConn game. I almost don't want to watch because I don't want to root for any team. I just want to see what the result is. We'll see how much we watch. Watch a lot of baseball this weekend. Of course, Gator baseball this weekend. Gator softball is on all three channels: ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPNU. The three days that they play Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Gator baseball, you have to find on the Plus for the most part against Missouri. All that and more. There's so much going on this weekend again. And then next weekend, let's see what we have. Spring game, Masters, Gator baseball against South Carolina. Oh, that's going to be a lot. We'll find a way to cover it all. Right now, though, we are going to get out of here. And we appreciate all of our great guests and great listeners and great people that are part of this. Really appreciate all of you for listening or the podcast or watching it. And we'll be back with another one on Monday with Coach Spurrier. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.